Stop. Don't guess what they're thinking, make them reveal it. Most people walk into conversations wearing armor, polite smiles, safe answers, a rehearsed identity, and you can feel it, that distance, that fog. But Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And nowhere is that truer than when we assume we know what someone means. So here's the Stoic way to read a mind, not by decoding body language, but by asking 5 questions that feel harmless, yet open a door most people keep locked. Not to manipulate, not to pry, to give them what they secretly crave to be understood without being exposed. Because when you ask the right question, something changes. Their voice slows, their eyes shift, their mask slips just for a second, and you see the real person underneath. In the next minutes, I'll give you the exact 5 questions Marcus would use. Questions that reveal what energizes them, what they've outgrown, what they value, what surprised them, and what they would do if fear disappeared. And once you hear their answers, you won't need to read minds. You'll understand hearts. Question 1. What's been the highlight of your week so far? Stop asking people how their week was, because you already know the answer. Busy? Fine. Same as always. That question doesn't open a door. It closes one. Now ask this instead and listen carefully. What's been the highlight of your week so far? Say it with me. Highlight, not summary. Pause for a second. Breathe in. Because this single question quietly reveals what energizes a person more than any resume, social media profile, or first impression ever could. Marcus Aurelius understood this long before psychology named it. In his Meditations, he wrote, "Where a man can live there, he can also live well." A person's highlight shows you where they truly live. Here's a story. A young officer once stood before Marcus, proudly describing a military victory. His posture was rigid, his words rehearsed. But when Marcus asked him the highlight of his week, the officer paused. Then he said softly, "Seeing my mother laugh again." That was the moment Marcus stopped listening to his rank and started seeing the man, because that answer revealed something profound. This man wasn't fueled by applause. He wasn't driven by dominance. He was driven by love, duty, and family. And this pattern repeats everywhere. Research from Harvard shows that people feel most fulfilled not during achievements but during moments of connection and meaning, yet fewer than 30% consciously recognize this. This question forces awareness. Now listen closely. When someone answers, there are 3 signals you must catch. First, where did the highlight happen? At work, at home, alone with others. Second, who is centered in the story? Themselves or someone else? Third, and most important, energy shift. Their voice slows, their eyes soften, their body leans forward. That's the truth speaking. Reset with me. Say this silently. Energy never lies. Now deepen the moment without pressure. Ask, what about that moment mattered to you? Or what does that say about what you've been needing lately? These aren't follow-ups. They're invitations. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. A person's highlight is a snapshot of those thoughts unfiltered. Practical exercise. This week, ask 3 people this question. Write down what they chose, who was involved, how their energy changed. You'll start predicting people's motivations with unsettling accuracy. And here's the quiet truth. Happiness is never random. It's evidence of what someone worships quietly. And once you know what energizes them, you're ready for the next question, the one that reveals how they grow or whether they grow at all. Stay with me. Question 2. What's something you used to believe that you don't believe anymore? Here's a question that instantly separates surface-level thinkers from deep ones. A question so simple, yet so uncomfortable, that many people avoid it their entire lives. Ask this calmly without judgment. What's something you used to believe that you don't believe anymore? Pause. Let the silence work. Say it with me quietly. Growth requires discomfort. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "Never meant for the world to see. If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake, I'll gladly change. It's the truth I'm after." That sentence alone tells you everything about a person's capacity to grow. Here's why this question is powerful. To answer it honestly, someone must do three difficult things at once. They must reflect, they must admit fallibility, and they must separate their identity from their beliefs. Most people fail at least one of these. Let me tell you a story. A charismatic advisor once stood before Marcus Aurelius, confident, articulate, impressive. When Marcus asked him this question, the advisor smiled and said, "I've always been right from the beginning. I trust my instincts." Marcus nodded politely. But later that night, he wrote a single line to himself. "Beware the man who never changes his mind. He will break before he bends." Because rigidity feels like strength until reality applies pressure. Weeks later, another advisor was asked the same question. This one paused, looked down, thought, then said, "I used to believe fear made people loyal. Now I know it only makes them lie better." That answer revealed humility, learning through observation, and the courage to update one's worldview. Marcus trusted the second man, and history rewarded that decision. Now listen closely. When someone answers this question, you're not just hearing what changed, you're hearing how they grow. There are four main paths people take when they change beliefs. First, experience. They were burned, failed, lost something real. Second, study, books, mentors, reflection. Third, feedback. Someone brave enough told them the truth. Fourth, pain, the most honest teacher of all. Research in behavioral psychology shows that people who can articulate belief change are 47% more adaptable under stress and significantly better at long-term collaboration. Now reset with me. Take a breath. Say this slowly in your mind. Beliefs are tools, not identities. Here's what to listen for when they answer. Do they describe growth with shame or with curiosity? Do they say I was wrong or I learned? Do they blame circumstances or take responsibility? Marcus Aurelius warned himself, blame no one. Find fault with no one. Correct yourself. People who've internalized this principle are rare and invaluable. Now deepen the conversation gently. Ask what changed your mind one moment or many small realizations, or how do you usually learn best experience, study, or people? These questions reveal how to communicate with them in the future. Here's a surprising truth. People who cannot answer this question usually fall into one of two groups: those who have never reflected deeply, and those who are afraid that changing their mind means losing control. Both struggle in relationships because growth is not optional. It's continuous whether we choose it or not. Practical exercise. Tonight, write down 3 beliefs you once held strongly but no longer do. Then ask yourself, what changed? Who helped? How did resisting the change hurt you? This is not self-criticism. It's self-respect. Marcus Aurelius didn't write meditations to feel wise. He wrote them to stay flexible. And here's the key takeaway, say it with me. The strongest minds are not the loudest. They're the most updatable. Once you know how someone grows, you begin to predict how they'll handle conflict, failure, and truth. But growth alone isn't enough. The next question goes deeper past learning, past ego, straight into what they value most in human relationships. Don't miss it. Question 3. If you could change one thing about how people treat each other, what would it be? This is the question that slips past defenses, not because it's clever, but because it feels safe. Ask it gently. If you could change one thing about how people treat each other, what would it be? Then stop talking. Say it with me. Values hide in complaints. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He wrote, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest. But none of this can harm me. Notice something important. Marcus didn't deny human flaws. He studied them. Because how a person wishes the world were different reveals what they consider sacred. Let me tell you a story. During a banquet surrounded by wine and laughter, Marcus asked a trusted friend this question. The friend didn't answer quickly. He looked down. His voice dropped. Then he said, I wish people would stop humiliating each other just to feel tall. Marcus didn't hear a political opinion. He heard a wound and an ethic. Because what people want change in the world is often what they once begged for silently in their own life. This is why the question is so powerful. It allows people to talk about humanity while revealing their own pain, values, and standards without feeling exposed. Psychologists call this projective values. Stoics simply called it truth. Reset with me. Breathe in. Say quietly. People reveal themselves when they speak about others. Now here's how to decode the answer. There are three common patterns and none are accidental. First pattern, I wish people were more kind. This almost always comes from someone who has endured harshness, criticism, coldness, dismissal. They value gentleness because they've lived without it. Second pattern, I wish people were more honest. This answer often belongs to someone who has been betrayed, misled, manipulated. They don't just value truth, they depend on it to feel safe. Third pattern, I wish people would listen instead of waiting to talk. This comes from someone who has felt unseen for a long time, their ideas overlooked, their emotions minimized. Marcus Aurelius warned himself, most of what we say and do is not essential. Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? People who crave listening crave presence. Now pay attention to tone. Some answers carry anger, some carry sadness, some carry hope. Anger suggests unresolved pain. Sadness suggests acceptance without healing. Hope suggests wisdom forged through experience. None are wrong, but all are informative. Now gently deepen the moment. Ask, when did that start to matter to you? Or what does good treatment look like in real life for you? Watch what happens. Their story sharpens. Details emerge. And suddenly you're not talking about philosophy, you're talking about them. Marcus lived by this principle. You don't form a bond by agreement, but by understanding. Here's the practical value. Once you know what someone wants changed in human behavior, you know what builds trust with them, what destroys trust with them, where they are most sensitive, where they are most loyal. That's not manipulation. That's respectful awareness. Data point studies on interpersonal trust show that value alignment predicts long-term cooperation more accurately than competence or intelligence. Reset again. Say it with me. Trust is value alignment over time. Practical exercise. Ask this question to one person you want a deeper relationship with. Then write down their answer, the emotion behind it. One action you could take to honor that value. Do not comment. Do not fix. Just observe. Because when you honor someone's deepest value, you don't need persuasion. You earn loyalty. And here's the key takeaway. Say it slowly. You cannot truly connect with someone until you know what they believe should never be violated. And now that you understand their values, the next question will reveal something even more dangerous, their capacity to break their own pattern. The decision that surprised even themselves. Stay with me. Question 4. What's a decision you made that surprised even you? This question does something dangerous. It exposes the gap between who someone thinks they are and who they are capable of becoming. Ask it slowly. What's a decision you made that surprised even you? Then wait. Say it with me. Character reveals itself under interruption. Marcus Aurelius lived by this truth. He wrote, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say if it's comfortable. He didn't say if it's popular. He said if it's right. That distinction matters. Let me tell you a story. There was a servant in Marcus's court. Quiet, unnoticed, never argued, never stood out. One evening, Marcus discovered that this servant had been offered a bribe enough money to change his life in exchange for silence. The servant refused. When asked why, he answered, I surprised myself. I didn't know I could say no. That single sentence revealed more character than a lifetime of polite obedience. Because courage isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It appears when habit is interrupted. This is why this question matters. Most people live inside a fixed self-image. I'm not brave. I'm not creative. I'm not a leader. I'm just being realistic. But the decisions that surprise us prove those identities are incomplete. Psychological research shows that identity flexibility, the ability to act outside your usual self-concept, is one of the strongest predictors of resilience under pressure. Now pause with me. Breathe. Say it silently, I am more than my habits. When someone answers this question, listen for 3 layers. First layer, motivation. Was the decision driven by fear, by love, by principle, or by escape? Second layer, emotion. Do they tell the story with pride, with regret, with curiosity. Pride suggests integration. Regret suggests fear of consequences. Curiosity suggests growth still unfolding. Third layer, agency. Did they choose freely, or were they pushed by circumstance? Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. People who recognize their agency, even in difficult moments, are far more reliable in crisis. Reset again. Say it with me, agency predicts character. Now let's deepen the conversation. Ask gently, what did that moment teach you about yourself? Or what would the old version of you have done? Watch carefully. If they can articulate the contrast between past and present selves, they are consciously evolving. Here's another story. A reserved woman in Marcus's administration once confessed, I surprised myself by speaking up in public. I was terrified, but staying silent felt worse. That answer revealed moral courage, the kind that doesn't seek attention, but chooses discomfort over self-betrayal. Stoics respected this deeply. Marcus wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The surprise decision is often the moment someone steps through the obstacle instead of around it. Practical exercise. Think of one decision in your life that surprised you. Write down what fear you overcame, what value you acted on, what identity shifted afterward. This isn't nostalgia, it's evidence, because people who recognize their capacity for self-surprise are less likely to betray themselves in the future. And here's the key takeaway, say it slowly. You do not truly know someone until you know the moment they acted against their own pattern. And now we arrive at the final question, the one that removes fear completely, the one that reveals desire without disguise. What they would do if they knew they could not fail. Don't leave now. Question 5, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? This is the final question, and it's the most dangerous one, because it removes the last excuse. Fear. Ask it slowly, almost softly. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Then watch carefully. Say it with me. Desire speaks when fear is silent. Marcus Aurelius never asked this question out loud, but he lived it every day. Imagine this for a moment. Marcus was the most powerful man in the world, emperor of Rome. He could have chased pleasure, immortality through monuments, comfort through indulgence. Instead, he chose discipline, duty, and a life of inner restraint. Why? Because he understood something most people never confront. Fear doesn't kill dreams. Comfort does. Marcus wrote, do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live. Death hangs over you. While you live while it is in your power, be good. That is Stoic clarity. Now let me tell you a story. A soldier once stood before Marcus after a long campaign, scarred, exhausted, honest. When asked what he would do if he knew he couldn't fail, the soldier answered immediately, I would build a school for children no one chooses, children who grow up invisible. Marcus noticed something subtle. The soldier's hands were shaking not from fear, but from meaning. That answer revealed everything. Not ambition, not status, not wealth, but impact. Psychologists call this intrinsic motivation, the kind that activates when external rewards disappear. Studies show that people driven by intrinsic purpose are 3 times more likely to persist through hardship. Now pause with me. Breathe in, say it quietly. Energy reveals truth. When someone answers this question, listen for 4 signals. First, speed. Do they answer instantly? That means the desire has been waiting. Hesitation can mean 2 things, suppression or disconnection. Second scale. Do they think locally, family, community, one person, or globally, systems, movements, humanity? Neither is better. Both reveal worldview. Third theme, creation, service, freedom, mastery, belonging. Every human life circles one of these. Fourth alignment. Are they already moving toward this dream, even in small, imperfect ways? Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Desire without action becomes frustration. Action without desire becomes emptiness. Reset with me. Say it slowly. Small actions reveal real desires. Now deepen the moment gently. Ask, what's the smallest version of that you could try this month? Or what fear do you think has been guarding that dream? Fear is not the enemy, it's a gatekeeper. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Many people answer this question with dreams they abandoned years ago, not because they weren't capable, but because they were afraid of disappointment, judgment, or change. Marcus understood this pain. He wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If someone never allows themselves to imagine a fearless future, their present becomes smaller. Practical exercise, final one tonight. Write down your answer to this question. Then write one sentence below it. If I honored this desire by just 1% this week, I would do that one thing, not tomorrow, not when you're ready, this week. Because Stoicism is not philosophy for comfort, it's philosophy for action. And now let's bring everything together. You've learned what energizes a person, how they grow, what they value when they break their own pattern, and what they desire without fear. This is not mind reading. This is deep human understanding. Marcus Aurelius never wanted followers. He wanted clarity, and clarity leads to connection. Final reminder, say it with me. You don't read minds by guessing thoughts. You read minds by listening to values. If this video helped you see people more clearly, share it with someone who matters. Subscribe to Making Life Better for more Stoic tools to think clearly, act wisely, and live deeply. And tell me in the comments which question changed how you see people forever. Here's what most people miss. The questions open the door, but your response decides whether they step through. Use this 3-step Stoic listening method. Mirror, repeat the essence. So the highlight wasn't the event, it was feeling useful. Name the value. That sounds like you really value loyalty, freedom, peace. Invite, don't interrogate if you feel like sharing what made that value important to you. This makes people feel safe, and safety creates truth. This is not about control. It's not about winning. Marcus Aurelius wrote reminders to himself because even an emperor could become cruel when he forgot every person you meet is carrying something. So ask these questions, not to take, but to understand. If you understand them, you won't need tricks. Connection becomes natural. If you want to practice this, here's your challenge. Ask one of these questions this week, just one. Then come back and comment which question you used and what you noticed. If you want more Stoic tools for communication, confidence, and calm strength, subscribe to Making Life Better. And remember, you don't need to read minds. You need to read hearts patiently. If this made you more aware of people and of yourself, comment just one word, aware.